It happened at the very beginning of the 90s in a provincial town. On a sunny June morning, brakes screeched outside the bookstore. The salesgirls ran out at the sound, but the street was already empty. Almost empty. There was a dog lying on the side of the road. She whined and squirmed, trying to get up, but her hind legs wouldn't obey her. The most lively of the girls, Vera, rushed to help. She examined the poor guy, talking gently and touching him gently. "Well, what is it, Ver?" Her partner Natasha and the head, Elena Viktorovna, stood fearfully on the sidelines, afraid to come up and see something terrible. And although the dog had no external injuries, its limp hind legs indicated a strong impact. "Girls, let's take her to the back room," Vera suggested. "Maybe she'll lie down." "Don't leave it on the street." Natasha looked questioningly at the manager, who nodded. "Okay, now we'll make her a bed there. Will you carry it yourself?" "I'll bring it," Vera replied, trying on how to comfortably take the dog. It was a medium-sized mongrel, similar to a husky. Thin, dirty, without a collar. Apparently, she's homeless. She lay in the back room all day, and in the evening, having recovered a little from the shock, she drank water and ate the offered treats. And all this while lying down. The dog couldn't walk. The next day, Vera arranged with her father that he would stop by during the break and take the dog to the vet. There was only one veterinary clinic in the city, or rather, a small veterinary clinic. Of course, there was no X-ray, so the doctor did not give any predictions. "Maybe, of course, he will recover. The dog is young and strong. So, with proper care, she will live." He looked seriously at Vera, "but she is unlikely to walk." They were silent all the way back to the store. Vera was riding in the back seat with her dog in her arms, and her father looked at them in the rearview mirror and sighed. And in the evening at dinner he told his daughter, "I believe you, but please don't get attached to the dog. And don't tame her to yourself. Don't forget, we're leaving in the fall." "I remember, Dad," Vera replied. The dog was named Julia. That's how she got used to the back room of the bookstore. For the first 2 weeks she lay more and more, and then she began to go out into the yard, or rather, crawl out. The hind legs dragged lifelessly behind her. Well, where is she going? She won't survive on the street. No one dares to take it for themselves either. The salesgirls were talking. "Thank you, Elena Viktorovna allows." Julia herself was the least concerned about this physical defect. She moved around the yard quite tolerably, sniffed, did her business and returned to the back room. On weekends, the girls took turns taking Julia home. Only Vera refused. In a few months, he was going to move to the Far East. My father went to work for 2 years, and the family went with him. And he was right, he shouldn't have gotten attached to the dog. Vera was afraid to admit to herself that she was already attached. At the very moment when I looked into the dog's eyes that morning, on the road. And Julia also looked at Vera in a special way. She looked at me warmly, devotedly, but one day Vera still had to take the dog home for the weekend. No one else could. Once she said to her father's reproachful look, "The girls have conspired, everyone has trips, picnics of some kind, we're actually going to the cottage too." Mom's voice came from the kitchen. Julia immediately went there. Intuition told her that the main thing was to win her mother's heart. The sight of the dog's trailing hind legs was so pathetic, but Julia added a sad, hungry look to be sure, and a minute later Mom was already wailing, "Yes, my poor girl, you want to eat. Vera, didn't you feed the dog there, in the store?" "It's okay, we'll take you to the country with us. Dad started kebabs, you'll like it." Vera looked pointedly at her father, but he just shook his head. Of course, Julia liked everything. And the cottage, and the kebabs, and the neighbor's dog Bim. who started a friendly fuss with her. And the next day, she returned to their apartment as if she were home, and fell asleep soundly next to Vera's bed. Returning to the store on Monday morning was a complete surprise for the dog. She was worried in her back room, not finding a place, and at lunch, when she was released into the yard, Julia somehow disappeared unnoticed. The sales girls took turns coming out and calling her, but the dog didn't show up until the evening, and they had to close the store and go home. Vera was very worried. She lived nearby, 2 stops away, and walked, looking around and sometimes calling out to the dog Julia. "Julia! Where are you, girl? Find me, please," and she was found, near Vera's entrance, completely exhausted. Obviously, the road was not easy for her, but as soon as Julia saw Vera, joy burst out with irrepressible energy. She licked and bit the girl's hands, screamed, wriggled her whole body, and it seemed to Vera that the dog's tail moved several times. There was no point in returning Julia to the store. Now she knew the way home. Yes, Vera would not be able to lock the dog in the back room when leaving work. "So what are you going to do?" "What is it?" the father asked, glancing at the happy Julia lying at her daughter's feet. "I'm going to cure her, Dad. And I hope you can help me." A week later, Vera began her vacation, and after that she planned to quit. There were just over 2 months left before departure, which Vera devoted to Julia. Their father took them several times to the regional center, where there was a large veterinary clinic, X-rays, and qualified doctors. They did not promise anything, but they undertook to operate, which means that there was still hope. Vera and Julie moved to the cottage. The girl spent every free minute with the dog. She gave medicines, did massage, developed paws. Julia was learning to walk again. At first, it seemed that nothing had changed. But the parents who visited Vera a couple of times a week noticed improvements. Yes, the paws wobbled and parted, but they were no longer dragging lifeless rags. A month later, Julia was already running after Bim with might and main, wagging her ass comically, and 2 months later only a limp remained, which did not interfere with her life at all. Joy for the dog was mixed in Vera's heart with the bitterness of the impending parting. There was very little time left for her to find new owners. The neighbor, the owner of the beam, suggested, "Leave her to me. The 2 of them will have more fun, and everything is familiar to her here, maybe she won't miss it so much." On the day of departure, Vera took Julia to a neighbor's house to play with Bim, and in the evening the family boarded a train and went to Moscow. From there they flew to Vladivostok, and there they also transferred to Ushuriysk. When they finally got to the place, Vera called her neighbor and heard a disappointing story about Julia. The dog, of course, sensed something was wrong and dug a tunnel all night. So in the morning, the hostess found only Bim in the yard. Realizing that it was useless to wait for the fugitive, the woman drove to Vera's house. The cottages were not far away, in the city, and the town itself was small. Everyone knew each other, who lived where. Julia was sitting near the entrance. She recognized the neighbor, but did not allow herself to be led away, making it clear with a low growl that she would stay here. Neighbors gathered on the street. Everyone was aware that the family from apartment 22 had left for a long time, and now it turned out that a dog had settled in the yard with the firm intention of waiting for them. Now Vera was calling another neighbor, Olga Nikolaevna, from apartment 23. And she reported the situation. "Your Julia is sitting near the entrance, as if on duty. And it's not given to anyone. I met your neighbor from the cottage a couple of times. She persuaded her and beckoned with sausage." No, not at all. Vera wanted to transfer money to Olga Nikolaevna so that she could feed Julia, but the neighbor refused. "Come on, Vera, the whole yard feeds her here." "What kind of money? Winter has come." "Olga Nikolaevna, and other neighbors constantly let Julia into the entrance to warm up. She went up to the third floor and lay on the mat near the 22nd apartment. The dog realized that there was no one at home, and as soon as he warmed up, he hurried back outside to keep his watch. Vera called the girls from the bookstore, and they also came to her house a couple of times to visit Julia. She found out, was delighted, accepted the treat, but did not go with any of them. Vera's soul was eager to go home, but there were serious reasons, including financial ones, that kept her in the Far East. The time was not easy then, and everyone survived as best they could. She returned only in June. Approaching the entrance, I saw Julia. The dog sat motionless, ears pricked up. She had already recognized Vera, and she was trembling all over with happiness and fear of scaring away this happiness. Then there were tears, hugs. Vera felt like her heart was going to jump out of her chest with joy. Both her and the dog, the happy summer time passed unnoticed. In August, my parents arrived. My father had a month off, and in September he had to leave again, for another year. Vera persuaded her parents to take Julie with them. The mother looked questioningly at the father, but he was silent, frowning and sighing with concern. Needless to say, the path was long and difficult even for people, and here was a dog who didn't really know either transport or the big city. Tension was in the air. Julia felt everything, was nervous and did not depart from faith. One morning, the father told his daughter to get ready with Julie. Let's go, we'll do the paperwork for her. They won't let you on the train or on the plane without vaccinations. The local veterinarian made Julka's passport retroactively for several cans of caviar, and slapped stamps on vaccinations. There was no time to make everything official anymore. In the evening, her father sewed a muzzle for Julie. It was not so easy to buy dog ammunition back then. Never wearing a muzzle, Julia sat motionless during the fitting, proud and happy. That's it, you're coming with us, said the father, having finished sewing. You really, Julia, don't let me down. And Julia didn't let me down. Never once did her owners regret their decision. They safely reached Moscow by train. Then there were airports, transfers, Vladivostok, Ussurisk. The dog flew around the entire Far East with them on military transport planes, was on Sakhalin and the Kuril Islands, and a year later the family returned home. Julia lived with them for 13 happy years, and never let them down, relentlessly following her faith everywhere.